Hey there, so today we have another review. This is a beer from Golden Road. This is their Guava cart. I've reviewed their mango cart before. That was quite tasty. And this was actually BOGO at Publix, and picked this one up. It's actually surprisingly 5% instead of 4%, which is the mango cart. And this one is brewed with guava and passion fruit. So I picked it up on the BOGO, so it was buy one, get one. So very cheap. And then I just found out today that they just got, I believe, gold at GABF for their fruit wheat beer. So it's really impressive that such a large production. By the way, if you don't know, Golden Road is bought out by AB InBev / Budweiser, and so a lot of this beer produced, but despite being such a large brand, they got medal at GABF. So I want to review for you guys, and pretty interesting. Poured out already, but didn't have a clean glass, so I decided to switch glasses. So let's try this guy out. 5% guava and passion fruit. Don't know why it's 5% instead of the mango cart, which is 4. Beer has a little bit of fruit beer flavor to it, fruit beer color to it, right? It's quite hazy, looks a little bit like a hazy pale ale or a Vit beer or something, but it has a little bit of pinkish hue to it, or a little bit of color, right? A little bit like green or pinkish hue to it. Like it seems like there might be a little bit of fruit giving it a little extra color, along with that really nice straw color, and then it has a medium to medium plus haze to it, so it's actually quite attractive of beer. On the nose, I mean, that's very guava forward. I mean, guava is such a cheater fruit. It's such a distinct, tart, fruity, tropical, exotic flavor. I don't know if I get the intoxicating sweet passion fruit. Like, passion fruit is also a cheater fruit. This, for me, is more of the... Like, passion fruit's more, like, orangey and exotic and sweet. This clearly smells tart. Like guava is just a tart fruit. Cheers. Very light, very light. Honestly, drinks almost like the 4% that the mango cart is. Yeah, I can see. So again, whenever it's nice to sort of like dig into these beers, not only to review it for my own purpose, or I guess a channel, my own purposes, but also to sort of see through the lens of like, hey, these are some of the best judges in the entire country, and they've judged this beer at GABF, and this is what they gave it, and like, I like to reverse engineer, like, well, why do they give it that? Like, you know, what in this beer is so tasty that makes it like, you know, like medal worthy out of like, you know, hundreds of submissions of, you know, out of the most competitive beer competition in the entire country, right? So up front, follows with that kind of tart guava flavor, but it's obviously not a sour beer, all right? I think that's a misnomer and also a confusing point that I think some breweries can sort of mess up in making a, you know, you're either going for a Berliner, goes a sour style beer, tart style beer, whatever you want to call it, or you're going for a wheat beer. This is clearly a wheat beer. You get a little bit of that tart acidity up front, which is quite tasty. Definitely not as tart as the nose. On the palate, now I suspect, you know, maybe there's a little bit of that sweet passion fruit thing, but really is mostly like that tart guava thing. And then it almost becomes like fruity melon-ish. So I get a little bit of like green flavors, like I'm thinking like not green like lime, but like honeydew, you know, honeydew, but also that guava, maybe a little bit of that fruity tart passion fruit flavor, but really not the sweet exotic passion fruit flavor, right? There's a little bit of that creamy, kind of light, doughy wheat character in the middle, a little bit of silkiness, a little bit of like texture and mouthfeel from that big wheat addition they're using. Yeah, and then there's a noticeable tartness in the middle, like, I think some people would actually call this maybe a tart, like a tart sour, tart beer, blah, 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 you know, depending on your vocabulary. I think some people would consider this sort of a sour beer, right? So I could see maybe the judges going, you know, either way, like, you know, maybe it's appropriate, not appropriate, because the guava is pretty tart on the nose, and it does actually somewhat follow on the palate. It's obviously not as tart as the nose, but yeah. But I could see why this beer can sort of be successful. It is very crushable. It's very clean. I taste, you know, almost no, like, you know, I don't really taste much like fermentation character and like edges to the beer. That's the one thing I noticed with a lot of the beers that do well at GABF. They're clear, concise, and they don't always, what's the word I'm looking for? The one way you can make this beer is just throw in a ton of that kind of like fruit puree, sort of make, you know, like what people are doing with the smoothie sours and stuff, right? Like chunky, like this clearly is still beer. And then they put the guava to like really accentuate the base beer, which is this really light, creamy, textured, small 5% wheat beer, right? So they're clear, concise, drinkable, repeatable, exactly what, like, you know, veteran judges / craft beer enjoyers like, you know, like Not always the big flavors that'll smack you in the head. There's always some kind of like, there's some kind of balance, you know, to the beers generally, right? Like there's always, you know, nothing's ever a balance in this context. You know, I hate using that word. Balance in this context means there's not, there aren't elements of this beer that really like pop out, right? Like things are just placed in a nice order, and it doesn't really have these kind of like flashy lights to it. It's you know, it's more like yeah, I don't know if it makes any sense, but the analogy is more like it's more like a classical symphony. It's more like classical, you know, music versus metal, right? Like it's just not. It's, you know, there's things thrown off are not just loud and blaring and blah blah blah, right? There doesn't feel like there's a lot of aggression to these beers. They're just, at least what, you know, what I've noticed with Metal Wonders, they're just pretty and well done, right? As for me, you know what? It's actually pretty good. So these are my impressions. I like Guava is a huge cheater fruit, so I'm a fan of it. I think maybe the mango is probably a better choice. I just think the Guava can get a little bit tiring. But the cool thing about this beer, and I'm drinking it more, is that the Guava is so noticeable on the nose, so noticeable on the front palate. But then as you sort of like drink it more, the flavor ends up falling away, and you notice less and less acidity, less and less fruitiness, and the beer just becomes more and more just crushable wheat beer with a little bit of fruitiness. So that's one cool thing about like great beers, is that they have the ability to not only show flavors when you're looking for them, but also just be good beers when you don't want to think about them, right? Like there's two ways, you know. Sometimes it's like, sometimes you want to enjoy a beer like this, and how I like, you know, review beers. And sometimes you just want to go like this. And they're both tasty, right? Sometimes you just want to go, there you go, right? And most, if not all, the great beers have both those qualities, where it's boom, you can do that, or that. So, so cheers. As for rating, let's go with a, I'm not gonna go crazy for it, but I feel like I like the mango cart more. I'm not sure. Yeah, now my brain goes like, why didn't you do a battle beers, Darwin? Why don't you buy 2 6-pack? Why didn't you buy one of each 6-pack instead of 2 of the Guava carts? Whatever. Now it's too late. Yeah, now it's too late. They don't have it anymore on BOGO. It's high utility, high repeatability. I'm going to give it a solid 91. 91. That's a very good beer. I mean, gold, that's a very good beer. Yeah, 91. You know, nothing crazy, but, you know, got a gold, got a medal of the GABF. That's absolutely insane. So, cheers. Let me know what you think. Selling out to the big guy. I'm just kidding. Hey, man, it's honestly impressive. I will say, excuse me, this might be one of the best, like, crafty brands. Well, geez, everything's sold out now, but how this? Out of the widely accessible beers bought out by AB InBev, crafty brands, this might be one of the best. Like this Golden Road Guava Cart Mango Cart are one of the best ones. Because I can't say it out of all the bought out breweries, because everything's bought out now. Founders bought out. Founders bought out. Bell's bought out. The New Belgium still, you know, everything's bought out now. But before, when it was only mostly AB InBev buying everything out, right? AB, it's AB, right? Am I crazy? Whatever. I'm like 99% is AB. Out of the AB breweries, and then they actually just sold off a bunch of the breweries, but out of the AB breweries that, you know, make beer, this is very good. 91. Cheers. Later.